What's up guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. So in today's video, we're going to be test driving the go-kart hopefully and finishing what's remaining. So right now I'm here at my warehouse. This is the part where I keep the go-kart. And this is the part where we have our welder. So right now we're just practicing. So this was my second time welding. Yesterday was my first. So I think I got a lot better than yesterday. Over here, these ones are a little nicer. Like this one's pretty nice. These two are really nice. So I'm walking up to our go-kart. And here it is. I need to do quite a bit of work. So the problem I basically had was the axle would spin, but the wheels wouldn't because the wheels were not connected. So yesterday, I got ahead these weld-on hubs for the axle and the sprocket. So I used them to connect the wheel. I welded this wheel to the wheel hub and this one works. I was doing it to the other one, but suddenly the tire exploded. And there's a huge crack here. And even the tube ripped. So this was a complete waste. So I went ahead today and got this tire. It's 10-inch. And here's the wheel hub from yesterday. So I'm gonna have to get the angle grinder, cut this off, put it on that, and then we're ready to go. Alright guys, so I just finished grinding the hub off the wheel. Took a few minutes. I grinded this off, brought it to near our welder. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this. Alright guys, just finished welding the wheel. Alright guys, the wheels work perfectly fine. I brought over the engine. I just need to find that keyway, insert it into the wheel hub, and then put some lock collars, and we're ready to mount the engine. Alright guys, it's the moment of truth. I got all the wheels on, the chain, the engine, the clutch. It's time to turn this thing on and see if it actually does move. I still have to hook up the throttle cable, but let's just see if this actually works. Turn it on. Gas, everything is on. Sorry. Let's hit the gas. It wants to go. Hook up the throttle cable first. So alright guys, I have test driven this car a few times and it works pretty well, except for the chain falls off after a little bit. And the reason for that is because since this car is made out of wood, it flexes quite a bit. So for example, if I put my foot here, you guys can see it bending. And when it bends, the chain is not aligned and it comes off. Alright guys, let's go for our test drive. Let's go! Alright guys, so when I was watching back the footage, I saw that the videos of me driving it weren't the cleanest. Like in the first video that you see right now, the problem is that I was holding the camera with one hand and driving with the other hand, so it's kind of hard to film. And the other video, the chain kept falling off. So guess what? I brought the car home. And right now I'm in my garage, and the thing I'm gonna do is fix up the chain problem and also get these brakes to work a lot better, because I feel like these brakes aren't doing much. Alright guys, so we went to the second test drive. It worked for a bit and everything was fine. And then a few minutes later, when we started actually filming everything, the chain started falling off again. Slowly. The chain was really tight and everything was working fine, but once the chain fell off and when you put it back on, it had like a little bit of play in it, which was not good. And another thing I've decided to do is get rid of this base. You guys see this platform which I have the engine mounted onto? I'm gonna get rid of that, move the sprocket all the way to the edge, move the sprocket all the way here, get rid of these brakes, find some way to put those brakes from this side onto this side of the go-kart. So for that I have a lot of work to do. I'll have to get rid of the engine, take these wheels off, switch things around, but hopefully I think this will make it work. The reason I'm doing this is because of this, there's a lot of play here. Look, I can simply move this with my hand. If you guys look. But if it's here, it's more centered. And I think that's what's gonna make it work. So now I have the engine taken off. I took the platform which the engine was sitting on off. It's back there. I took the sprocket off, the brake cable. I literally took everything off basically. And now you guys are probably thinking that you came here to watch a test drive and now I'm basically redoing a whole lot. I'm sorry, but by the end of this video, there will be a test drive. So if you're watching this, you're gonna see a test drive. So this is what I kind of meant by have some sort of platform. Obviously it's not gonna be this exact piece of wood. I'm gonna try to find something better. But now you guys can see the two sprockets line up very closely. Obviously I can still adjust the back sprocket a little bit, but the only reason I didn't go with this before was because I had the brake drum on the same exact side right here, so I had to push this all the way here to make space for the brake. But now I can just put the brake anywhere on this side like I said. So I got this extra piece of wood. I'm going to cut it to size, replace it with the old one, drill some holes. Got my saw over here, and let's get back to cutting. Here's my chain. It's obviously going to be a lot shorter now because there's a less of a distance to cover. So here's where I marked this chain. I'm going to go ahead and cut this with my angle grinder, and then I'll also grind these welds so it can fit the drum, and that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so after a lot of grinding, I got the chain on. That's what it looks like. I haven't drilled out the holes yet, but it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. It's a lot shorter. That's pretty good. And here's the brake that I was talking about. I grind it down really nicely. It spins freely and it fits pretty well. I'm just gonna have to get a weld around these edges so it stays on. Okay guys, to mark up the engine, I had the engine on top of the plate. Then I used some paint and I put it into where the holes of the engine where the bolts are gonna go. Now I can drill this hole and that hole, and then I can get an idea where the other two holes are gonna be. Okay guys, so I got the engine on, the chain is on properly. The throttle cable honestly has to be on this side, but it's already on this side and I don't have the brakes available right now. Like I said, they need to be welded, so they're gonna be ready in a few days. So I'm gonna keep the throttle cable here, throttle cable on this side for now. Test this thing on. Let's see if it does work and have I actually solved the problem.
A few moments later.
So I just test drove it from this side of the wall to this side of the wall. The first couple runs were fine, but then after a bit the chain started slipping, and the chain is quite loose now, but it was at the start it was fairly tight. So by this point I was really frustrated and kind of angry. I've tried so many ways to fix this up, but nothing seemed to work. But then I had a brilliant idea. The idea was to build a chain tensioner, and this is how I did it. I used my old skateboard wheel, and since there was a bearing inside, I went ahead and put a 4-inch screw through it and straight into the frame. And this is all held by that white piece of wood you see, and it works really well. So guys, I got this hub welded on yesterday. I brought my old tire back as well because that tire was really messed up. And I'm going to install these brakes right now. So, after working for about a few hours, I've switched on the throttle cables. Now here's the brake, and that's the throttle. The brakes are on, they work fine. I'll give you a test run. The engine's on, brakes are on properly. Turn the key. Throttle. Brake. Brakes work. Okay guys, so I just came back from an official test run. Yesterday was the first ever test drive. It worked extremely well. It's really quick. The brakes work fine. Everything is good. This chain tensioner I've built is absolutely amazing. I still, although don't have those two bolts, extra bolts holding down the engine, but I will be adding them soon. The footage is on the other camera. The only problem that happened during the test drive was the bolt holding the brake came off, so I'm going to put two bolts here. And on this side, I'm also going to have to add another bolt here, because when the car goes, vibrates, and that causes the bolts to come off. And that's the only issue. But other than that, everything is successful. And I might be getting more footage later on in the day and maybe tomorrow. So that concludes our go-kart journey. I've started this project about 6 months ago, and it took a really long time to complete. And as you saw, it works, and it works quite well. So if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and also please subscribe. So there's a playlist on our channel which has the whole go-kart series, all the parts from start to finish with all the measurements. So if you want, you guys go check that out, and also you can build the go-kart yourself. And if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week.